fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. And let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good, good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, and let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. And let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. And let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. And let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh.
You Good morning, DCC. Welcome to all of our online listeners and viewers. I'm so glad you're here, whether you're here in the Dulles area, maybe you're further out in the state, maybe you're somewhere further out in the U.S., maybe you're not even in the U.S. right now. Welcome. Glad you're here. I'm outside on a cold, windy, snowy day because it's Super Bowl Sunday and not Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl Sunday, but Chili Kit Sunday. You guys are amazing. I love serving our area with you. I had a dream of getting these chili kits together for Dulles South Food Pantry. I didn't tell anyone that my secret goal was to get to 50 kits. We've got 81 kits. This is one of probably 4 cars we're gonna need to take all of our kits over to Dulles South Food Pantry. Thanks to you guys. You have been awesome with your support and your help and your love. I can't wait to continue serving with you and to see what our next serving project is. Enjoy this Sunday, enjoy this interview. Love you guys.
Joshua Symonette, hey man.
Hey, good to see you. Good to be with you.
You too. So for those joining us here today, Josh is a longtime friend of about 15 years now, and he's joined our teaching team about a year ago now. And I'm excited to talk with you today on the Super Bowl weekend, Josh. But first, speaking of Super Bowl, I just want to echo what Christina said just a little bit ago. Christina really spearheaded this whole project we've been on and helping some neighbors here in the Dulles area have lunch or dinner on Super Bowl Sunday. And Christina kept telling me, she mentioned to me a couple times, I really hope we can get to 50. My goal is 50 chili kits. And she messaged me last week, hey, we're at 55 and then 60. I remember when she said 60.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we ended up with 81 chili kits. And
wow.
To all of you guys who've participated in this project, I'm really proud to do church with you. So way to go, everybody.
Yeah, that's so awesome, guys.
Yeah, it really is. So for those who don't know Josh, Josh is, man, we've been buddies now for a while. It's a funny story how we met. It had to do with a podcast. a podcast I listened to was wishing you a happy birthday, and that led to you and I meeting, which is a kind of a funny story we'll save for later. And you've spoken at Dulles over the years often. About a year ago,
yep,
you joined this teaching team that I've been putting together. And I just wanted to tell you at the start here some things that people have said to me this year after you've spoken at Dulles or when you've talked on a weekend. And some of the people that have given me feedback, it's been quite a few people. Some aren't even in the area here. They watch with us every weekend online from, I remember one in California who messaged me, different parts of the country. So people have told me that they love your heart. I've heard feedback that people have felt challenged by you when you talk. And maybe the best of all is that you've helped people in their relationship with God.
Wow.
So, dude, I love that you do this with us, and I'm really grateful for your friendship, Josh.
Well, hey, thanks, Brad. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve. And hey, thankful to all you guys who tune in and who listen, and for your kind words and your encouragement. It really is fuel for the tank. So thank you.
Well, and we did kind of a Super Bowl backdrop here for me. And the Bradford shirt, if you're wondering why Sam Bradford's jersey is hanging behind me, that was a gift from my girls on Christmas one year because that's my name. And I actually missed that, Josh. You, for about 12 or 13 years, just always called me Bradley.
Right.
I actually miss it because I know you kind of corrected that a couple of years ago. Right. My only friend in the world, they call me Bradley because I'm a Bradford. So on this Super Bowl weekend, I thought it would be appropriate to just chat with you about life and church and football. So let's start with football.
Yeah, sure.
You played in the NFL. I mean, you and I have chatted about this before, but what was your favorite your favorite thing about being a football player, and what was your least favorite?
Well, first I'd like to say, for people who might go to Wikipedia or the internet to kind of look me up, I had a couple of cups of coffee with the NFL, so it wasn't an extensive kind of career, is what I like to tell people. But yeah, I mean, I think some of my favorite things was just being around the guys. I mean, like, and competing with some of the best. I mean, I think most people who spent any time at the highest level you can be at in professional sports will say that the locker room, the camaraderie with the guys, hanging out with them and then competing, against them was just fun. You enjoyed it. And I mean, man, you get a chance to get paid pretty well to play a game, So, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, I think most guys would say that practice and training were probably the least exciting things, because it really takes a toll on your body, and you really got to get yourself in shape. And hey, listen, like, I realized I was crazy a long time ago when you love a game where grown men go out and try to run into each other as fast as they can, so, like, obviously that takes a toll on your body, and the recovery from that is not great either.
It's funny. I was chatting with Andrew, our new student pastor, this morning. He went sledding with some of our students this week. This was his first snow. He grew up in Miami, like you did, South
Right.
Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've met Andrew. This was his first like legit snowfall, and he went sledding. And he messaged me the next morning and said, "Man, it was fun, but I'm so sore." And we were talking about how out of shape we are.
Right.
So tell me about training. So training is a big part of being an athlete, of course. How did training as an athlete, maybe symbolic is the word, or how did it prepare you for life, for marriage?
Yeah,
being a pastor.
that's a great question. And Brad, I'm being perfectly honest here. I am so thankful almost every other week for my athletic experience and being able to go all the way to the highest level that you can go, because there's nothing like that grind. There's nothing like that level of mental toughness and just what you have to put yourself through to be prepared to play, the study, the physical aspect of things, the perseverance. Like, so I've just been mentally conditioned to go through life a certain way. Now, training camps in the NFL have changed. But when I was playing, we had real training camps where you going out there and you like picking yourself up every morning to go out and practice. And so it was really a grind. And I just feel like I have been blessed to have had that experience. I feel like I can go through anything, like I can make it through anything. And there isn't anything too tough where I couldn't push myself through it. And so I've drawn on that in almost every aspect of my life, and all the things that I've experienced. It's been a real gift for me.
Okay, so I don't think we've ever talked about this before, but on that point, what would you say to someone who's young in their faith? Maybe they're pretty new at following Christ, who thought it was going to be easy. Like, hey, God in my life should make everything just, really easy. Like somebody who has endured a lot through training and that really prepared you, like you were saying, what would your response be to somebody who didn't expect life to have so many challenges as a follower of Jesus?
I would say embrace the tensions, because it's actually those tensions and those moments of wrestling that are really going to produce something significant in your faith journey. Because faith for us, it needs to be an anchor. And when you think about an anchor, just imagine a boat or a ship, in the middle of some rough seas being tossed back and forth. Like, you really need something that's going to hold you. And, the tensions that we push ourselves through and the hurdles we overcome and obstacles and things that we go through, those things are conditioning for us. and there are always people around us, people behind us, people in proximity to us who can learn from those things and who can benefit from those things. And we can walk with people through hard places because we've experienced hard things ourselves, and so I'm really glad you asked that question because, man, if we're really following Jesus, I mean, it's really a challenge in a major way. And I would say much like some of the physical stuff I've been through in the NFL for sure.
Yeah, and it just made me think about your message at Dulles, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, where you challenged us to choose calling over comfort.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, like there's nothing comfortable about what you have to do from a football standpoint, like what you have to do to prepare yourself to play, the hours you put in, the amount of study. I mean, Brad, literally, like the minutia is crazy. Like we are like going over scenarios that might have a 0.2% chance of happening just in case they happen, so like it's that level of preparation mentally, and then also the physical stuff, eating right, sleep, everything. And so it's a really significant investment, but that's what you do when you want to compete at the highest level and do it at the best way that you can.
So talking about training and discipline, disciple comes from the word discipline.
Yes.
And, to think of the 12 disciples, even before us, all of us, just starting with the 12, they were really committed to a new way of thinking, a new lifestyle. Like,
right.
That's really what being a disciple of Jesus was about and is about.
Right.
So something you've been doing for a number of years, I'm actually not sure how long. We've talked about this in recent years. You have prayed at the beginning of a year, prayed and thought about a word or theme for the coming year.
Right.
And I know this is really encouraged now in a lot of leadership circles. I've been doing this personally. What is your word this year and why?
Yeah, my word this year for 2021 is invest. And I just looked around and see all of this time that I have to spend with my family because of COVID, and everybody else spending just times, inside and, not being able to do life like we were doing pre-COVID. But I just realized, I'm not going to get this time back with my kids, with my family, and I want to invest, deeper. I don't want to just exist. I don't want to just kind of go through the moments and just wait to get to the other side of COVID. I think another major motivation, which you and I hadn't talked about either, is our family literally has only 18 months left to be together, the way that we are right now as a family of 6, because I have a daughter who's a junior in high school who's going to go to college. And so the makeup of our family is going to change forever after, those 18 months. And so I'm thinking about all those things. And then I'm also in a new city, we're planning a church and, we run a nonprofit. And I want to be invested in our community. I want to be invested in, getting to know the city and getting to know the people here and how I can be a contributor in a positive way. So those are some of the motivations coming into the year.
That's great. Yeah, good stuff. And, just by the way, here at Dulles, last year, our directional team worked on this. I guess it was the end of 2019. And we really identified the word health for our church for the year ahead. And there's some irony in that because that was about 2 months before COVID, 2 or 3 months before COVID hit. But we really felt that God wanted us focused on all things health at Dulles. And it's remarkable. I talked to churches who are really struggling. Quite a few churches are closing their doors this year.
Wow.
I said this quickly in a conversation probably in August, that I don't think our church has ever been as healthy as we are. And when I said that, we're online. We haven't seen each other. Many of us haven't seen each other in almost a year now. It's just so many challenges. And we stopped and we were like, wow, wait, do we believe that? And, Alton and Alex, and we discussed that at length. And we really decided we're the healthiest we've ever been as a church. And a lot of that is that we just really put our attention on what health means, regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah.
So this year, and the leadership gurus who really challenge this say that it really should be just one word.
Right.
This year, we're really focused on health into growth.
Yep.
Or health leads to growth.
Right.
In every aspect of life, relational growth, just financial health, relational health, spiritual health, or health in our relationship with God. So anyway, yeah, it's really cool hearing you address that, Josh. So hey, I've got a Black History Month question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So what would you say to a white person who is struggling to understand why there needs to be a focus or a month that recognizes or celebrates the history of a race in America?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person to help them maybe see why you value us having Black History Month?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I would say that, man, I long for the day when, American history is just American history, and that we don't have to have, Black History Month. We don't have to have Women's History Month. We don't have to, have Hispanic Heritage Month. But let me just speak specifically to Black history. First of all, first and foremost, a lot of people don't even know why Black history was started and the motivation behind it. There's a guy named Dr. Carter G. Woodson who actually had a home in DC, which you can actually go and see where that home is in DC, in Northwest DC, not far from Howard University. Dr. Woodson wanted to start Black History Month because this was right around the time of the Great Migration. And if you study the Great Migration, it was when a lot of Black people from the South were moving to different parts of the US. And what Dr. Woodson wanted to highlight was the contributions of Black and or African Americans in the country as a way of stimulating positive race relations, because he knew for the first time that the country was actually going to be shifting. The landscape relationally was going to be changing, and he wanted there to be a positive view of Black people and their contribution to American history. And so that was the reason for it. It started out as a week, then it grew to a month. And so it's really just a celebration of the contribution of African Americans in this country, how we have helped to shape it. And the reason why it's so significant is because a lot of Black identity historically was less than, considered to be 3/5 of a man. And then if you think about it, I mean, Black people literally just got voting rights like in the late 60s. That's like yesterday, and so we're not too far removed from a time when we were not seen as equal in this country. And so, I do think it's still significant, but more importantly, I would just point people back to the motivation of Dr. Woodson for starting it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Really good. And speaking of which, you introduced me to just a great guy, Justin Jackson. He's become a good friend. He joined the board of the Washington West Film Festival just recently. And he messaged me this morning that his film, he's produced along with Spike Lee and others, a major motion picture that's coming out like this weekend.
Yeah, Justin is the man.
I think on demand. He messaged me that, I'm looking at my phone here, that it's pre-order. Today it opened for pre-order on Apple TV. It's called Son of the South. And I just encourage all of you.
Check it out.
Check out this film. I haven't seen it. I've seen the trailer. The trailer like makes me want to watch it like right now. So I'm anxious to see it. Hey, let's talk about the church. Just the church, the global church. I said recently, and I say this often, that when the church is working well, when the church is healthy, when churches are healthy, meaning what I mean by that is when churches behave like Jesus, when they look like Jesus, they sound like him. It's the safest place in the world. It's the most attractive, compelling place in the world. It's the greatest force on the planet. when churches are not healthy, when churches aren't reflecting Jesus, they can be catastrophic.
Right.
It's kind of an open-ended question. What are your thoughts about a church that's working well and a church that isn't?
Yeah, I like the question. It brings me, I think, immediately to one of the passages in the Sermon on the Mount, so Matthew 5, and there's this reference there about or metaphor that Jesus uses related to salt and light, and basically saying those who are followers of him, that we are to be salt and light, and that's a significant metaphor, because if you think about salt, I think about flavor and preservation, right? And so like salt, has to be on things. It has to be in things, there has to be touching, in order for salt to do what it does, in order to elevate the flavor of it. And listen, too much of it, takes away from the actual substance that is on. Too little of it doesn't bring it out enough. And then you think about preservation, like, salt was definitely used back in the day to push back decay and, keep things fresh. And I think like that when the church is operating at an optimum, it's doing those things. It's elevating, bringing flavor. It's preserving what is great and protecting as well. And then this idea of light, being an inviting presence, and also a presence that shines a light where there needs to be justice, but not that blinding light that immobilizes and pushes people away. And so I just think, like, when I think about the church hitting on all cylinders, I think about salt and light. And when I think about the church not hitting on all cylinders, I'm like, hey, we're a little too salty and the light is too bright.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I've been in this week, the last couple weeks. I think this is going to make its way into a series soon at Dulles. Mark chapter 2, where the four friends are bringing their paralyzed friend to Jesus. And I'm actually going to read it here. I'm just going to read it off my computer screen. This is Mark chapter 2. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left inside, and not even outside the door. And he preached the word to them. Some men came bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by four of them. Since they could not get to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof, and that's where they cut the opening in the roof and lower the man on the mat down in front of Jesus. And he's amazed by their faith and heals the man.
Right.
And I'm going to develop this into probably a message or a series, but it really stood out to me how these men bringing a wounded, hurting person to Jesus could not get to Jesus because of the listeners,
right?
Because of essentially the church, because of those following Jesus and listening to him, they actually blocked the way of this broken person getting to Jesus.
Right.
And Andrew and I were talking about this one morning last week, and just talking about what would a healthy church look like in that scenario. And Andrew said something to the effect of, I guess a healthy church stands sideways.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I told him that might make its way it's probably going to make its way into my series.
And Brad, I just think we need to be so, like, when you talk about that example in Mark 2, I just think we need to be so great at, loving our communities and finding a way to bless and help and support, that then the community seeks us out as advisors, as collaborators, as partners. And at the end, and it's because like we are going out of our way to do what we're called to do, no strings attached, no hidden agenda, but to just, love our communities.
Absolutely. Like, that's it. No hidden agenda.
Right.
Actually being the love of Jesus to people.
Right.
Yeah. I agreed. I just believe, and it's been my personal experience at times as a recipient, as a beneficiary of that love. There's just nothing on earth like it.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. So here's to us being not perfect churches, but
Right.
but churches that look more and more like Jesus.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's talk for a few minutes about losing. This is a theme that has been kind of stirring inside of me in recent months. The idea of losing well.
Yep.
We could direct this into a political conversation. I'm really not interested in doing that. I made a post not long ago that related to what losing means politically, but just about life. Have there been? Can you think of a time when you lost? As an athlete, that's probably easy to think of, but a time where you lost and it actually was good for you. It actually benefited you, or led to something positive.
Yeah, I mean, I think about I think about games. Obviously, I think about situations where maybe where I felt like I lost, or I didn't win personally. And without just kind of going into detail over those scenarios, I would say in almost every instance, I was able to zoom out and see what I had gained from the situation. Because there's always something to be gained, but it's all about perspective. It's all about how you view it, and it's not that you don't care about losing. No, like I'm competitive. I absolutely care about winning and wanting to win. But you realize that there are lessons and that there's opportunity even when you lose. And honestly, Brad, and you and I have talked a little bit about this before, but I just think it comes down to the lens of humility, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, and humility involves this like selflessness, and we take our viewpoint off of ourselves and what we didn't accomplish and what didn't happen in a way that we wanted. And the problem with that is that the world that we live in is constantly focused on individual results and validating ourselves. I think it was the psychologist Adler who said that one of the hungers that we have as humans is significance, and so we pursue winning because we think that gives us significance. But actually,
good point.
Yeah, but actually, if we learn how to have a lens of humility and we're thinking of others more than we're thinking of ourselves, then things begin to kind of be reordered in the correct way. And that's what Jesus calls us to. That's the example he gave when he came to earth.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And, I think there's this deficiency in society. I certainly think it's a spiritual deficiency, a lack of understanding who Jesus is or what he's about, when, certainly this applies to a narcissist, a very self-absorbed, self-focused person, but the lack of understanding that losing, it's not just a part of life, but it actually, it's intended spiritually. Losing is intended to lead us toward a win. And
right.
We grow, we develop, we mature through losses,
right?
Even mistakes. And in so much of society today, the thought is, if you lose, then it's done. You're done. It's over.
Right.
And that's just a misunderstanding of who Jesus is. When you follow Jesus, he takes so many challenges and losses and regrets,
right,
and can mature us into people who actually somehow are grateful. Amy and I've talked about this. We often relate it to early marriage mistakes, selfishness in our marriage. Like we had some early losses, some big ones, in our relationship that we later actually became grateful for. Like, wow, God has actually helped us to learn love in a way that we didn't.
Right.
So this is something I'm just on right now. I'm kind of veering into like a little mini message here, but just
well, look, I'll just throw out one scripture reference for anyone who wants to keep going down this trail. And it's the story of the rich young ruler. And I think it's in Mark, I forget where it's at. Well, let me just look real quick. It's in Mark 10, and then it's Luke 18. And basically this young guy, he's affluent. He's got a lot of things. and he is asking Jesus questions about like how do I get eternal life? And Jesus says, "Oh, keep the commands." And he names the commands, and he's like, "Oh, okay, Jesus, I got it. I've been doing that since I was a young boy. And is there anything else?" And Jesus says, "Oh yeah, there's this one more thing. Just take all your stuff, sell it to the poor, and then come follow me."
Yeah.
Well, he was sad, it said, because he had so many things, but Jesus said, "Hey, you will have treasures in heaven." And the problem with the way we look at losing is it's so momentary, it's so short term. We're not thinking long term because we feel the significance of that in the moment. But Jesus is calling us to something greater. And so, to your point about like, when we learn how to lose, we actually are opening ourselves to something greater.
Yeah, and in that example, I don't want to create something that's not in scripture, but
Right.
but just seeing the way God works in people's lives, and certainly in my life so many
Right.
times, you have to wonder if that man, if that rich young ruler had given up everything, all of
Right.
his wealth. And the reason Jesus zeroed in on that was because wealth had his heart.
Exactly.
If he was willing to give up his grip on money, God probably would have given him more, or turned that gift of money making into something that would have far exceeded anything he could have imagined.
Right. And that's the thing. He couldn't imagine it because Jesus said, "You will have treasures in heaven."
Yeah.
Meaning like there's way more to this life and the next.
Yeah.
If you follow me.
Man, I could talk to you all day. I know everybody would enjoy listening to you for a lot longer. We're kind of near the end here. Let's just talk about game day.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Tom Brady? He's like going to be 75 years old soon.
I know, it's crazy. Like Brady came into the league 1 year before me. So it's crazy to think about how long he's been playing, and now he's talking about playing to maybe 45. I'm like, bro, come on, man. But hey, listen, you can't argue with Brady's greatness. You can't argue with his accomplishments. And hey, just kind of continuing this losing theme, like, hey, I think one of the things that actually makes Tom Brady great is that he is not a good athlete at all. Like he he is very, very limited, and he has fully embraced that and kind of zoomed in on what he's great at, and spent a lot of time developing little nuances to help him improve. But yeah, he's obviously, I think, the greatest of all time. I've never been a Brady fan, or supported the Patriots, but I never will argue with his greatness.
Yeah, same for me. Yeah, that's a good point about Brady. I mean, in the pocket, he's perfected in the pocket. You get him out of the pocket, and he's just an average, maybe average quarterback.
Probably below average.
Maybe, probably is. He can't run.
Right.
Amazing. Yeah, you think Mahomes could become a Brady?
You know what's so tricky about that? Well, first of all, like I've heard a lot of the conversations around, the future GOAT, in reference to Mahomes. I have some problems with that. I mean, I think we're just too quick to anoint people to be the next. Let the guy do what he's doing. He's having a phenomenal start to his career. We hope it continues, and he does a lot of good things. I mean, I don't know how sustainable this trajectory is he's on right now, but I think the only thing maybe that will hold Mahomes back, maybe two things. One is if there's some systematic changes within his organization. I mean, Andy Reid is already, an older coach. He's not going to coach forever. Brady has had the ability to be with Belichick and that organization for a while.
Sure.
I don't know how long his run is going to be with Andy Reid. And then secondly, there's always the health. There's always injury, and it's you got to be a little lucky. So who knows? I hope he goes on and has a great career. I love Mahomes, and hey, I'm actually pulling for Mahomes to beat Brady. So hopefully that doesn't offend some folks who are listening.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I'm pulling for the Chiefs for sure. Mahomes is so fun to watch.
He is.
Brady has kind of hit this milestone here now with a new team. Like, wow, how far can he go?
I know.
All right, we need to wrap this up. I'm going to pray here to end our time.
Yeah.
Jesus, thank you for meeting us in conversations about football and life, and just what we've talked about today, the idea of discipline and what it can lead to. I pray that for anyone who is lacking the courage or lacking the discipline to take the next step with you, God, that you would just breathe life into them and encourage them, remind them they're not alone. And I pray that you would meet them in that step of discipline, of becoming more like you, of centering their life in a way where they can hear you and experience you more. Amen. Josh, thanks so much for being a part of what we're doing here at Dulles.
Yeah, it's good to be with you guys. God bless.
Yep. Love you guys a lot.